good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind Association Think and Grow Rich show. I am Galen Bingham, the leadership strategist. I am just so excited for this chapter. We're switching over to the auto suggestion principle after talking about faith for a couple of weeks now. But I am really excited about this topic because not only is this the fourth step to riches, it's the medium for influencing the subconscious mind. It's the third step towards riches. I'm going to read what the author says because I really think that I know I can't say it any better. Autosuggestion is a term that applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli which reach one's mind through any of the five senses. So this is how we get the information that we act on. The conscious mind can evaluate and calculate and determine what gets through, but once it gets to the subconscious mind, this is what we're going to be, what our body, what our mind, what our brain acts on. So this is if we can leverage auto suggestion, we can accomplish almost anything that we want in life. So I'm just so excited about this principle every time we get to it. I can't do this by myself. There are labor laws against going solo. So I'm going to bring in my co-host, Luis Jimenez. How are you doing? Welcome back, man. We missed you.
Hey, Dr. Galen, I'm gonna call
I
you
love
today.
that, man. Keep that going.
Hi, Galen. Yes, I was in Dallas last week, but I'm very happy to be back and to kick off a new principle with an amazing host that we have today. A
Fan.
guest, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Peter, what about you, man? What's going on?
So excited to be here this morning, Galen. So excited to be here with you all. Dive into this new principle. Those of you who have never read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, today is your day. But not only do we have Galen, do we have Louise, we have such a special dynamic guest that we're going to be chatting with today about autosuggestion and how that plays out in her life or in just in our lives, how it should play out in our lives overall. So looking forward to diving on in. Listen, I've been talking quite a bit with my clients lately, Galen, about autosuggestion and how
Yeah.
that can shift their mindset, for lack of a better word. And I'm excited to dive in to hear how we're doing it overall. So let's get it going.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into this conversation with our special guest. Before I bring her in, though, I just really want to emphasize to everyone, please make sure you're checking us out on YouTube. This is, I mean, not only do you get these conversations live, but there is a catalog. There's an inventory of past conversations where we are really challenging our guests to speak into your lives. So please join us if you go to Ann McNeil on YouTube, her channel, and then subscribe, and you'll be able to follow us there. Hit that little bell. Karla Hill, I see you already. Thank you. Laura Jackson, I see you're there. The U.S. workforce is there, and Ann is there in the chat as well. So with that, I want to bring in our special guest. This is going to be an incredible conversation because Karla Elizondo is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's a mindset coach, and she's chief media officer for the Napoleon Hill Institute. So talk about someone who understands the importance of auto suggestion to the public as well as auto suggestion internally to yourself. I can't wait to get into this. Well, let's go ahead and bring her in. Karla, come on in. Come on in, Karla.
Hello, everyone. I love those magic words.
How are you doing? How are you doing? I can't wait.
Wonderful.
Let's go ahead and jump in. Just share just a little bit about your background because you've done so many different things that I don't know that I would necessarily knit them together in my head, but you've knitted them together, and that all those elements probably contribute to how you do what you do. So share a little bit about your background.
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having me, Anne, Galen, Peter, and of course, Luis, my champion over here. I'm just so grateful to be here. And so thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to talk about these principles. I'm obsessed. I call myself the Kobe Bryant of Napoleon Hill. I always like to really go in. That's my magnificent obsession. So, like you said, I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a mindset coach, and a principal teacher, as well as the chief media officer at the Napoleon Hill Institute. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And so, long story short, from a young age, we all have these deep questions of, what's the point of life? Who am I? Where do I come from? I want to fulfill my purpose. Just these deep existential questions. Started having at a young age. And so that really started my journey into studying psychology, philosophy, even theology. And it was really my salve. It didn't answer all the questions, of course, it never will, but it gave me solace. And so through those journeys, I love storytelling. I love to perform. I love to connect with people. So actually my undergrad is in film and television. And then I still continued to study psychology. And later in life, I went back to school to get my master's in psychology and counseling therapy. And really I love to teach in an infotainment way, right? And so I'm molding all of these together, and personal development saved my life. I experienced addiction, I experienced anxiety, depression, and thank God for this material. It has quite literally saved my life. And I don't hide the fact that personal development is something that is free, right? Free 99, YouTube University out there. And I'm so grateful for it. So I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just a taste as to all the principles that are going to be coming into this conversation. Before we get deeper into this, Luis, I'd love for you to take us through this video. Give us kind of a setup as to this video about our 13 principles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this video. You're going to fall in love with this video. The production team has created this video on the 13 principles. We're going to go through I'm going to get a touch of every single principle. And what we're going to do with Karla today, we're going to dive really, really deep into autosuggestion, the third step. So pay attention. These videos are based on Think and Grow Rich, the best book out there by Mr. Napoleon Hill. So pay attention. I would really like you guys to even make a little note on every single principle. This is amazing.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the Mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right, all right. So that is just a great overview of all the principles. And as Luis said, we're going to get deep into this conversation on autosuggestion with our guest Karla Elizondo. And I just really want to get into this because Karla, I mean, just thinking about all the things that you've done and the journey that you've been on, how do you get to a point where you've got 4,000 hours in clinical experience, where you've got master's degrees in clinical psychology, you've been on television, you're a Toastmasters champion, but you didn't just shake your magic wand to make all of that happen. What role has the book Think and Grow Rich played in allowing you to get to where you are now? I heard you say earlier that you believe it saved your life. Talk about that journey and what was the role that this book in general played?
Yeah. Persistence, number one. I mean, all of the principles work together in Think and Grow Rich. And to be quite honest, the physical book, right? Think and Grow Rich, our physical book, get this copy, it's the best one. That book came into my awareness after I started studying with Bob Proctor. Many people know Bob Proctor. He was an amazing man, my mentor as well. But the principles are timeless, and they truly are the foundation of all, present day personal development. And even before that, they are just timeless wisdom, but put together in a very tangible way. And so I call it kind of the gateway into personal development. And then you can go as what I call as woo as you want, but you can stand very stable on these principles that are tried and true. And so the physical book was, again, later in life, I would say, how old was I when I actually read the book? Maybe 34. And I know I look young, but I'm going to be 42 in May. But so the physical book, actually reading it later in life, but I think everybody is it may be an unconscious competent. We don't know we're doing these things. It's kind of similar to when people saw The Secret. They're like, I was doing that. I always did that. I used to do that. But then the concept came and you're like, oh. So I think it's the same with Think and Grow Rich. These principles of persistence, of autosuggestion, faith, obviously, the mastermind, speaking with your friends, family, or partner, desire, of course, the subconscious. I mean, all of the principles work together. And so, but when you read it, you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that this is what I was doing. And so, what got me here and through my life is persistence, desire, burning desire, persistence. And of course, my love for the subconscious mind, understanding how it works. And I don't think anybody knows, totally how it works because it's intangible, right? The mind is not the brain. And I love how he differentiates them both. There's a chapter on the subconscious mind and there's a chapter on the brain. And so the mind, again, is not the brain. It's the thing that influences the brain. And through neuroplasticity, through mindfulness, we can truly rewire our brain, which I call the body. And I loved that opening video, I was writing notes as I was watching it. Autosuggestion is what we feed our mind and brain. When we talk about the mind-body connection, it's not the mind-brain connection. It's not the brain-body connection. So through autosuggestion, we quite literally program every single cell in our body. And so what I realized was, I had mentioned a little bit before that I struggled with like bouts of depression. I didn't know that's what it was. And at a very early age, I'm talking like 12 years old back in the 90s, nobody knew what depression, like I didn't know what depression was. Mental health was not talked about and I didn't want to scare anybody, But it was just this feeling of emptiness and mixed with anxiety. I had no idea what that was. And so I realized that my thoughts were spinning and spinning and spinning, and there was no rest. And I was really upset. I had quite existential rage. And I thought, God, what is this? Like, this is not fair. I'm a good person. And I just heard this, like, what are you putting into your brain? What are you putting into your mind, Karla? And I thought, oh, I have to pay attention to that. That's important. That affects how I feel. Oh, that's a thought. Ding dong. And so I realized, I said, oh, I'm a supercomputer. The input will dictate the output. And it ain't personal here. And so then when I started reading autosuggestion, I thought, oh my good God. And also, even in my studies as they continue to happen, autosuggestion, which I often say is similar, people know it as affirmation or incantations or whatever it is. But really, I think Anne even said it in when we were chatting before. I was saying that I run every day, but that's an autosuggestion to my physical body. It's not only words, it's words, thoughts, behaviors, anything that comes through our five physical senses.
Yeah, I love absolutely everything that you talked about, and the fact that I've read this book, I don't know, maybe eight times now, and that sentence hit me differently. It says autosuggestion is a term that applies to all suggestions and all self-administered stimuli, because even now I was thinking it's what I say to myself, but it's literally, this says all stimuli. So fascinating conversation. Dr. Peter, I got to get you in, man.
Yeah, such a great conversation. I'm actually even just reflecting on how I practice autosuggestion, how I need to shore it up a little bit. But I want to go back a little bit there, Karla, if I could, and would love to find out your introduction to this phenomenal book. When did you first discover it? When did you first dive in? And then, when did you first re-dive in? Because we all have that introduction, but then we really haven't soaked it up. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, kind of like what I mentioned before. So I had been practicing these principles unconsciously through other personal development, which is really influenced a lot by Napoleon Hill, right? The best in the business have been, and really give honor to Napoleon Hill, right? But it was through Bob Proctor, probably almost 10 years ago now. And so he gave me an assignment, and it's so interesting. Well, he gave me 3 chapters to read for 90 days straight. Y'all, this is in my blood and bones, okay? Decision was the first one. Every day, every morning, I would call somebody. I would have accountability, like a Mastermind Alliance. 6 a.m., God bless you, Jim Williams, him and I would get on the phone every morning at 6 a.m. and we would read the chapter on decision for 90 days straight. I would read a little bit. I would say pass. He would pass back. I knew exactly, I have it in my old book of how long it took us to read it. So I knew each chapter, how long it would take to read in the mornings. Decision was kind of long. Then we had persistence. I read for 90, and then autosuggestion. It was the shortest. I think it's the shortest chapter in the book, and I was happy about that. But I read it every single day. And Napoleon even says in the book, he goes, read this chapter out loud to yourself every single night before you go to bed. And a lot of people will be like, I'm not reading that every night. I thought that too. I'm like, who does that? Somebody who's serious about changing their life. That's who does that. And so, again, I love sports. I love people with a spirit of excellence. Luis, I know you do too. And, when people go all out, people think you're crazy. And thank you. I call me crazy because I don't want to be like anybody else. I don't want to be like y'all who just read the book once. I mean, we know that. Who said they read it 8 times, right? And I was just thinking there's certain chapters that I've read 90 times, over 90 times at this point. So to answer your question, Peter, in the last 10 years, when I call it like was introduced to the source, to the organized source of it, I've never, well, actually, I would say that I did read those for 90 days and did other things, but getting back into the Napoleon Hill Institute, well, actually the rebirth of it, back a couple years ago was when I went all in, double in on the book and the material.
Wow. Go ahead there, Galen.
No. Go. No. You got it. You got it.
I would love to hear now, and thank you for that background. How does it manifest in your life, if you don't mind? Some small examples, some big examples for that matter, that you see in it. You're seeing it play out in different areas. We heard about the running for sure, but maybe even in your career.
Mm-hmm. Lord, I mean, persistence and faith, decision. I mean, the book in general, I'll get to a specific example of autosuggestion is what we're talking about today, but decision, burning the boats. Like, I love my fellow Toastmasters. When I was a part of it, they did this great speech. One of them did a great speech, Dave, on decision, the word decision, to decide. The root word, the ending, CIDE, means to cut off and to kill. There's homicide, to cut off and kill another person, suicide, to kill off oneself, pesticide, insecticide. But to decide is to cut off all option of anything else, burning the boats. And so an example I would use is not for my career, but affected everything in my life, was my decision to cut off alcohol from my life. I by no means was what anybody would think was a problem drinker or an alcoholic, and I never really, thought of myself as one, but I knew it was the one thing. There's that 1 degree, the little habit we have, that was just not fitting in my life. It was keeping me down. It was actually like making my anxiety worse, and it's a depressant, and I had no idea the connection between mental health. But my decision, this book and decision helped me truly get sober. I said, oh, I gotta like get it all out. Like there's no, like it's zero. You can't be a little bit pregnant. You can't be a little bit drinking. Like, no, none at all. So decision was the one thing that absolutely saved my life, to cut off and kill that. But an example in my life through autosuggestion, listen to this. So everybody has a different learning style. Don't let anybody tell you you're the expert of your own life, okay? Bob loved to write. He used to write his autosuggestions out, and I was like, I want to be like Bob. I used to write it out, and I'm like, oh, Lord. I felt like a chore. I was like, I was like, it was like, I'd rather eat glass than be writing my autosuggestion for 10 times a day. I love to journal, but I don't like to write sentences, and it felt like a chore. And I just had to admit, and Bob goes, don't do it then, Karla. What do you like to do? And I'm like, I like to listen. He's like, then listen. I'm an auditory learner. So I recorded my autosuggestions, my affirmations, and I listened to them. Not only that, a lot of people listen to affirmations, autosuggestions. They might sleep with them playing at night. And I call that passive autosuggestion, which is beautiful. It gets into your subconscious mind. But I found out a really cool trick. It's active autosuggestion, and it goes into my background. So I do EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and I also do IFS, different modalities of therapy. But when you actively do an autosuggestion, what does that mean? When I was walking, it's called bilateral stimulation. Whenever you're moving the left and right hemispheres of your body, you can just move your eyes back and forth. You can move your body. So when I walk and I listen or repeat the auto suggestion, it deeper wires in my body. So personally, auto suggestion, I will get out the gym on the treadmill. I will hold on to the handles. I'll even close my eyes and I will just walk and I will listen to my auto suggestions. And as I continue to do that bilateral stimulation, I call it active autosuggestion. I will listen to the words, my words over and over and feel it and suggest it, right? And autosuggestion is not just words, it's images too. It's pictures. What pictures are we suggesting to ourselves? What smells? What are we suggesting to ourselves? An autosuggestion is just a suggestion from yourself to yourself. What are you suggesting in the form of pictures, audio, words, people, whatever it is? So those are so many powerful examples in my life.
All
Love that.
right. Well, hey, before we go to Luis, because I really love the direction, because you're really getting in deep as to how you use autosuggestion. But I just want to acknowledge the folks that are joining us on YouTube. Get your questions ready. So, I see Shannon is here. Mina has joined us. Stanley Green, my good friend Sharice is here. Karen Weaver, Miss Smitty. Luis is joining us. So we got all the players here. Doretha Dennis, I see you. And V-Lynn Whitfield. Put some questions in the chat that you want our guest to answer, because she's done this from a lot of different angles to be able to help people live their best life. So, Luis, I want to bring you into this conversation. I know you guys have been hanging out together for a while, but what questions do you have for Karla that could help us get a deeper understanding of autosuggestion?
Thank you. Beautiful. Yes, I love that. And what I'm getting is first we need to know ourselves about what kind of learning abilities, skills do we have, right? Some people is kinetic, some people is audio, right? I'm very visual, but what you just gave us, Karla, is a complete, like a 360 of all the things or almost all the things that we can do to continuously autosuggest. Because one of the things that we're doing is we talk to each other, to ourselves all day long. Like, it's incredible when we pay attention the amount of time that we spend with ourselves in our heads. How is that conversation? How has this conversation evolved when you were going through these rough times in your life, on how it is right now? What's the biggest difference that you've noticed?
Yeah.
Because some people might be going through something like that, right?
Oh, yeah. I know people are going through something. So hello, everyone. We are all going through something. As a psychotherapist, I'm so honored to have a front row seat to people's lives and have them trust me. And what I've learned, and I'm in Los Angeles, and I speak to a lot of people. And of course, all walks of life. Let me tell you, and we know this, but I feel so honored to truly, there's theory and there's knowledge. Like, you can read it in a book or hear someone say it, but when you've experienced it, everybody is going through something. Nobody has it figured out. Okay. So to answer your question, what has changed, or what have I noticed with the talk? Just being aware. Look, your subconscious mind is on 24/7. Napoleon Hill says it, when you're awake and when you are asleep. We highly underestimate the power of our subconscious mind. We play around. We play. There's a funny phrase, and I won't use it, but FAFO. Truly. It's like we play with ourselves. This is what I say. So we have this image of the subconscious mind that has two parts, the conscious and the subconscious, right? And actually, when we think about the psyche, right, the word psychology comes from the Greek word, the study of the soul or the spirit, our true heart of hearts. If you've ever heard, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? By their fruits you will know him. What are we putting in the garden? Your mind is a garden. My favorite quote, I don't know who it came from, but I use it all the time. Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. What are you growing in the garden of your mind? So what I became aware of was, oh my God, this is a desert. This is a crap show down here. I said, oh my God, what am I planting? And who am I allowing into my subconscious mind? Just the awareness, Luis, I think, is the biggest difference. It's like, listen, I'm silly. Okay, I'm gonna stop the jokes. Okay, but like we highly underestimate. This is what I say. Your subconscious mind is 95%. We see that iceberg, right? Everything's happening underneath. Think of it as at times when things are going real bad, like a big, as my clients would say, a big dumpster fire. And we think we can read a quote. We can maybe for a couple days start doing something. It's like taking an eyedropper, ding, ding, and putting a couple drops on a big wildfire. It's like, are you kidding? We underestimate what's really going on down there, and we're afraid of it. And most people are, and I don't blame them because me too at times. But if we're serious about changing our life, you have to start changing how you think because everything comes from your thoughts. And I don't sugarcoat it. It'll get worse if you do not. And we play too much. That's all I have to say.
You know, I'm curious, Karla, about, and this is personal for me, because one of the things that I've really come convinced of is that you can't stop negative thoughts from coming into your brain because negative thoughts come to everybody. However, you can control how long those negative thoughts stay there. And I love the way the text says that thoughts are things and two things can't hold the same space at the same time. So talk a little bit about that work that you do when you've got a negative thought, it just popped in. How do you evaluate that thought and replace it when you determine it's not going to be productive to who you're trying to be?
Yes. I love that you brought this up. Okay, so intrusive thoughts are real. Intrusive thoughts all the time, right? And you're right, Galen, we cannot control our thoughts. We have 60,000 to 100,000, some people estimate a day, 60,000 to 100,000. You're going to control those? You cannot control your thoughts. You can regulate them though. You are in full control of the thoughts you get emotionally involved with. You cannot control your thoughts. Don't even try. Don't be a hero. No one's done it. You cannot control your thoughts, but you can control the thoughts that you get emotionally involved with. You can regulate your thoughts. I use metaphors, and the one that's coming to me now is think about a really busy airport, like the tarmac, all the planes coming in, right? Planes are always trying to come in, circle in your mind. Picture your mind as a big old airport. And planes are trying to land. Yes, they are. They're trying to get in. And you are like the regulator. You're the controller, like, not today. I don't think so. Thank you for sharing. It's like you have to dictate if they're going to be landing in your airport or not. You have to stand guard your heart and mind with all your might because all life comes from it. It's like, what are we letting in? And so I say, you have to be the regulator. What is a regulator? It's the authority. You have to be that authority and have fun with it. Be light with it. Don't take every thought so personal. Just because a thought comes in, especially an intrusive thought, does not mean it can stay and have some tea. So I teach emotion, like we all know boundaries, right? Physical boundaries. If you come in my space, I'm sorry, I don't know you, please get out of my space or I'm going to call the police, right? Say Galen or Peter, somebody ran in your house right now, an intruder, physical intruder. You would be like, GTF, get out of here right now. Same with your mind. Excuse me, when you have a thought come in, it's an intrusive thought. It's like an intruder that will invade, but we don't think of it that way. We play with it. We like, oh, why are you here? Maybe it's telling me something. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's like, no, get out of here. Yes, there are thoughts that come in for feedback to give you information that you need in the moment, but that's like 5% of the time. 95% of the time, you just have busy old thoughts, people coming in, and you just sit there like a victim, letting these intrusive thoughts come in and ransack your whole house.
Dr. Peter, how's that for shifting your mindset?
Wow, it's so deep. And I love the analogies there for sure, Karla. You know, there's so much going on in our world today. There's so much in our environment, politics, a local, global, East Coast, West Coast, climate change, so much stuff. And I see the value of autosuggestion on so many different levels. And then I also heard the word from you, persistence. But for some, that's challenging. How do you coach them? How do you coach individuals around that know that they want to lean into this, but there's blocks, stuff gets in the way, what do you suggest?
Yeah. Number one, the first step to riches.
Mm.
If you don't know what you want and you are not emotionally involved with it, I don't care if you have an organized plan. I don't care if you have a mastermind. I don't care if you persist every day. If you do not know the roots of what you want, I won't even talk to you. I'm one of those, like I am, even as a therapist. And it's, if you want to change, I'm your girl. If you want to, I do all of it, but right. And of course, I don't talk like that as harsh, but I do. It's like, it's just a gift of mine. I am very laser right to the point. When you are ready to change, and I can get you there, but you got to be open and coachable, because I was not, right? Everything that I speak is from my own personal. I was such a prideful brat, entitled victim, thought she knew everything, all the things. And when you wake up to that, you're like, oh my gosh. So it is just so important to understand that what you are feeding yourself will make your life. And my mind just went out the door. What was your original question? Because I
No, no,
had
no.
something
Actually,
on.
I love where you were going, and even from the perspective of what you're feeding yourself, and what it also made me think about is also who's surrounding you. But sometimes, we have individuals who that self-doubt, that negative talk. I heard you say you woke up one morning and be like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But sometimes it's hard for people to get to that point. It's hard for people to get to that realization. And sometimes it's even challenging for someone like you to come in and shift their mindsets as much. So if someone's watching and that may be them, I heard you say about it starts with their will, but what else?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it came back to me. So desire,
Yeah, yeah.
admitting to yourself what you want. And a lot of times and Napoleon Hill says it, like we are deterred. We let the outside world, we live from the outside in. That's the
Mm,
problem. We're trained and we're programmed to live from the outside in. And most people, like you said, right now, they are, I call it emotionally belligerent, right? You can be physically belligerent, right? When you have a couple too many or whatever. And I've definitely been there, right? I'm sober now, thank God, for almost 6 years. But when we can be intoxicated physically with a substance from outside of us, but the biggest intoxication is the substances that are coming from within us. We are chemically dependent right now, most people, on fear, doubt, hate, worry, judgment, ignorance, and we are belligerent because guess what? We get a dopamine hit. We are bathed in these hormones and these neurotransmitters. We love it. And if we don't get our hit of the day, and it's unconscious for most people, but it's conscious for some people, it's like you might as well just get a syringe and hook up and shoot up every day because that's what you're doing. So we need to be emotionally sober. When you watch the news, when you watch some people, that is not emotional sobriety in any way. That is absolute belligerency. And some people are right. They're righteously angry, and I don't blame them. However, do you want to be right or do you want to be at peace? Peace of mind, regulation of your nervous system is what we need right now. And if you need to turn the news off, turn it off. Be the leader again, be the leader of your life and back to it. Start with what you truly, truly want. What do you want? Do you want to be dysregulated and angry and hate everybody in the world right now and listen to all this, whatever is dysregulating you? Do you truly want that? Probably not. So I would say go back to what do you want? Not what you think you can get, and don't feel silly. But again, Napoleon Hill says, even friends and relatives that are very well meaning will try to make fun of you and make light of you. It's like you have to be your own, you have to have agency in your life. Protect yourself. That's what I would tell people.
wow, wow. Luis, man, your buddy here, she's dropping some gems.
Right.
I love when you said most people live from the outside in. We let the outside validate what we think we're feeling on the inside. Luis, what additional questions do you have?
Well, plenty. Beautiful way to put it, Carla. Um, it's just bringing me to command ourselves, right? Be in charge of ourselves. You said it with a not allowing the negative thoughts that we have. Like we have to have the decision to, if we train ourselves, what I've learned for from you, Carla, is one, we have to choose, right? We have to choose, but also be nice to ourselves.
Mhm.
But when is this part? This is what I love most about self-development, that we're knowing ourselves better, right? What can we tolerate? What can we not tolerate? What are your non-negotiables, right? I would like to go to that part, like the non-negotiables. That is a term that I heard long, long time ago, and then I didn't hear it for many years until I was with somebody that I was getting coaching. And oh my God, that is one of the best ways, because not just for the negative though, but also what are my non-negotiables so I can grow in the what is allowed, like how am I impacting my brain through the autosuggestion, right? My non-negotiables, whatever, I don't work after several hours, family time, all that. But on my mind, what are my non-negotiables? What can you go there? Because I know you love to talk about that.
Yes. Well, Luis, I love that it's discipline. It's self-discipline. And of course, Luis is my colleague at the Napoleon Hill Institute, and we have the self-discipline camp. A lot of people attribute that word, I certainly did, discipline with punishment or negativity, but really reframing it, self-discipline is self-love. It's self-leadership. If you don't have discipline, you don't have anything. I fell prey to that. I was like, I want to be free. I want to be able to do what I want. I don't want a 9 to 5. I don't want to be, because I thought discipline, like rigid. But it's the same side of the coin as freedom, discipline and freedom. You can only have freedom if you're disciplined. If you do not have discipline, you ain't going to be free of nothing. So discipline is what comes to mind with that. I wrote so many things down as you were talking. Know thyself and you shall know the universe and all the gods, right? Know thyself. That's what personal development is. It's a self-study, deep dive. When I was going through grad school, I thought I was going to school to learn how to help people. It was a big old masterclass on myself. It was like putting one of those searchlights on and I was going down deep in the caves of Karla. I was like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. I'm paying for this. Oh man, I'm still paying it off. But I was like, oh my God, this is interesting, right? But only when you help yourself can you help anybody else. And what you said, Luis, was decision. Again, discipline and decision. You cannot serve two masters. Stop playing with yourself. Stop playing with yourself. And by the way, if this encourages anybody, I know that I'm speaking with passion and that I can seem very blunt or whatever, but truly believe me when I say, like Luis said, be soft, be gentle with yourself. Don't blame yourself. You're doing the best you truly can, but know that you can always do better. Be gentle, surround yourself with people who believe in you. Get a mastermind group. So when I made the decision to stop drinking, I only made the decision for 1 year. I said, I will not drink for 1 year. And of course, through that process, I got to know myself a little bit more. And I said, oh, okay, wow, this might be longer than a year. So if you make a decision, if there's a habit that you want to stop doing, if there's a habit you want to start doing, make a decision, a non-negotiable. There is no negotiation. Maybe for a week. Start with a week. Maybe just for today, I will not complain. Make a decision, burn the boats, and forgive yourself if you fall off the wagon. Tomorrow's a new day. The afternoon is coming, right? If you fall off in the morning, be gentle with yourself. Baby steps. It's not all or nothing. I'm going to go to the gym every day this week. I forgot 1 week. Oh, there it goes out the window, right? I mentioned a little bit that I'm running every day, the auto-suggesting this habit of running every day. And so it's just being disciplined and having non-negotiables. When you have non-negotiables, like, for example, mastermind groups, I always say, and this is just my 2 cents, have it be time bound. Start a mastermind for 90 days or 60 days, then reassess. Because of what I find a lot of people get in masterminds, and it's just like there's no barriers and it turns into a therapy session and everyone's just talking. It's like, oh Lord. And then you feel bad for leaving them. You're like, I gotta break up with my mastermind group, and and people aren't showing up. Oh, I have a football game. It's like, you have a football game? This is non-negotiable. Like, I work my schedule around my non-negotiables. It's not like, oh, ding dong, I forgot that. No, your life revolves around your non-negotiables. Your non-negotiables don't revolve around your life. So that's my thoughts on that.
Wow. Wow. Love it. Love it.
That's
You know,
beautiful.
one more question before I throw this to Peter to talk about the annual meeting. There's some chatter on YouTube about negative auto suggestion, how we can, just as we can auto suggest positive things, we can auto suggest negative things.
Oh,
And
yeah.
most of the times, we're not doing that on purpose. We're not doing that consciously because no one wants negative things, but just the small comments, oh my gosh, I never get this right. I never get this right. I'm always making this mistake. Talk a little bit about how auto suggestion works for negative things that we outwardly claim that we don't want.
Yeah. Listen, like we said, we've all said it here. We've all read the book. Auto suggestion is happening 24/7. And if you have not programmed your subconscious mind to the majority of the time think positive things, it's negative. It's one or the other. There's not a lot of black and white things, but that's very black and white. You are either positively auto-suggesting or you are negatively. And if you don't know, it's probably negative. I'm just saying. And we have to be honest with ourselves. So it's like when people say, "Oh, that's brainwashing." Oh, sometimes I'll do that. Like we think we could flirt with it, or it's maybe on the weekend I'll start auto-suggesting. Honey, you're already doing it. You're already doing it. And who programmed you? Look at your parents. Look at the 5 people around you. That is what you are suggesting and pumping into your system. It's like we're being brainwashed 24/7. You might as well pick the soap, right? Oh, you're drinking a Kool-Aid. You're into that personal development stuff. Yeah, so are you, honey. Do you know what flavor you're drinking? Because I sure do. You might as well, it's a constant drip, our auto suggestions. And the majority, Galen, I'm glad you brought that up, it is negative. And if this is the first time you're hearing it, it is uncomfortable at first to wake up to what we're thinking. And I had a client, and I'll just share this. She was struggling, and I said, it sounds like a lot of self-loathing and a lot of self-hate. She's like, no, I love myself. I love myself. No, no, no. And of course, I'm like, well, what are your results? Clearly you don't, right? And it was a very gentle process. So I said, just be open to exploring. And this is how I want you to explore it. And I invite everybody to do the same. The subconscious mind is exactly that, below conscious level. We are not aware of what's going on in our subconscious mind. So you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm consciously aware that I'm subconsciously thinking this. No, you're not. Okay. You're only consciously aware of what you're consciously thinking. How we experience our subconscious thoughts is through feeling. Think about anything in your life that isn't going right or that you're dissatisfied with. I don't care what level it is. How do you feel about it? Where do you feel it in your body? Notice that. That's step one. How do you feel? Do you have a little tightness in your tummy? Do you have a little tightness in your shoulders? Does it make you feel a little squeamish, a little in your throat? Then, once you identify the feeling, the physical emotion feeling in your body, say, if you could speak, what would you say? It'll pop up like toast, baby. It'll be like, you're a loser or something real nasty. So back to my client, she came back the next session, horrified in tears, and said, I cannot believe the thoughts, vicious, ugly, nasty, that I wouldn't even say to my enemy that were coming up when I did that. And I was like, most people experience that. They never even know. So yes, Galen, the majority of people are subconsciously programming themselves with negative auto-suggestions and they don't even know it.
Mm. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. This is really getting into an area that I think is going to help a lot of people, starting with me. Dr. Peter, talk a little bit about this annual meeting, and then we're getting some questions coming in on YouTube. So we want to address those, or at least have Karla address those. But talk a little bit about the annual meeting, Peter.
Yeah, Carlos, thank you so much. Such a great conversation going on today, even allowing me to reflect. I've taken down quite a bit of notes for sure. And I love even the intentionality, the discipline that you mentioned about who we surround ourselves with and how we are planning and the goal setting, all that kind of good stuff as well. One of the ways that we do so here at Think and Grow Rich Live is we have an annual accountability meeting. And it happens every year at the beginning of the year where we reflect on who we are in this various areas of our lives, not just business, not just career, not just financial, but even health and family and vacations and things like that. So it's so important to identify who is in your circle, but even who's your accountability partner. That annual accountability meeting is so important. Yeah, just one time we do it, but throughout the year, who is holding you accountable? And Karla has been alluding to that, folks, throughout this conversation, how we hold ourselves accountable, but how others can hold us accountable as well. If you've never experienced this annual accountability meeting, which is on the screen, it's going to take place in January. It's not too early to prepare, not too early to plan. To be in Boca Raton in January, much better than being in Chicago in January. I can vouch for that for sure. So if you've never experienced it, take a look. Sign up today, commit to it, be disciplined to it. Hope to see you there. All right, Galen, back to you.
All right. So we got a question from my really good friend Cherise, and she wants to know, in your experience, how does the emotional component, belief and feeling influence the effectiveness of autosuggestion? Does simply repeating it do the trick? Can I just say over and over again on road in a monotone voice, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am wise? Does that work, or is there something else that needs to be a part of that repetition?
That's such a good question. And from my experience, my personal experience and what I've read, and even Napoleon Hill says it, just simple repetition will work. However, if you want to speed it up, getting emotionally involved with it, getting back to that desire, wrapping those thoughts, wrapping those images, wrapping the behavior with your burning desire and your why and the emotion behind it. But simply repeating it and being around it. Think about children. Think about how we learn languages. I'm not emotionally involved in learning English. I wasn't emotionally involved in hearing Spanish in my ear, but it's there. And so I start to behave exactly the way I was programmed. It's, again, a supercomputer. Input in, out. What we impress, we express. What we impress, we express. So it's just like a song. I bet everybody on this call knows Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Some people hate that song. Some people love that song. Some people can't stand it. Just like any other songs. You know every word to it. Why? Because you love it? No, just because you heard it multiple times. So it's used for negative too. Think about prisoners of war. There's been studies that have shown how you brainwash and reprogram people, and they take on the morals, values, ethics, and they live that life, and then they get emotionally involved with it because it's truth to them. So it goes both ways, but when you want to use it in your life for the positive autosuggestion, you choose what you're suggesting to yourself and you wrap it with emotion. Or if you can't find that faith and emotion yet, lean on other peoples who truly do believe in it, but just continue to what does he say? Self-administer it to your five senses in a way that is conducive to your learning. Mine is through audio. I have my ear pods in all the time. I am constantly washing myself, even on days when I don't feel it, Sharice. Like, I'm like, oh God, well, I don't want to feel, but I just do it anyway. I do it anyway because I know I'm feeding my subconscious mind. So I say it's both.
I love it. I love it. Get it however you can. Get it however
Yes.
you can from
Yeah.
multiple directions. Peter, talk a little bit about how folks can register for that annual meeting, and then what final things do you want to share? What have you heard that you just had to write down?
So much stuff there, Galen. I don't even know where to start. First of all, I did add in the link, of course, in the on YouTube link, the link for the Think and Grow Rich annual accountability meeting in 2026. Take a look. I'll be sure to drop some more links into the discussion there in just a little bit. So much good stuff today, Karla, as we get ready to land this plane. Um, Wow. The biggest one I think that Ann put in the chat already was, listen, most people live from the outside in. And that really resonated with me, especially in these times, as the question that I asked you. But I'm hoping it resonated with our audience, who it's easy now to get inundated with the negativity that social media and the media and the news wants to inject into us on a regular basis. But how are you switching that narrative? How are you shifting that narrative? I love how Karla said she's got her headphones in constantly to wash herself of the external world. So maybe there's some cues that you can take from Karla today that you can apply beginning right now. There's no time like the presence. Hey, Galen, I'm gonna just make sure. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me at shiftyourmindset.com or on LinkedIn. It's probably those two of the preferable destinations. Galen, I am just noted out, man. So I'm just gonna pass it right back to you. Thank you so much there, Karla. This has been great.
Fantastic. Luis, what about you? What about you? I know you and Karla get to hang out a lot together, but this has been for me an incredibly special conversation. What keynotes did you capture from this conversation, and how can people get a hold of you?
Absolutely, yes. Well, I got quite a few as well, but existential rage. I love that. I love that because it's sometimes sometimes we have to get tired of something and your brain cannot take it anymore. Your mind cannot take it anymore. You say, screw this. This is not life. This is not what I want. And then we start becoming very intentional with our thoughts, actions, words, and all that kind of stuff. Here, to me, is we don't have to wait to go through the addiction, hit rock bottom. This is one of the reasons why I became a coach, to help people to accelerate the process and they don't have to suffer that much. Because one of the things that I like about this, and this comes with autosuggestion, pain is unavoidable. You're going to have pain in life. Suffering, however, is a choice. So that was one of the things that stayed in my mind earlier when she was talking. But yeah, I even uh, made it a big existential rage. So thank you for that because we can use the negative as fuel. That's what I'm getting. Like we can use the bad stuff. And thank you, Karla. I mean, I get to hang with her in the Napoleon Hill Institute, but this is different. The conversation is different. She's always teaching in this way. Today we got a little bit more of the raw Karla, and I loved it. Thank you so much. And you can find me in all the social media as Luis Jimenez Coaching, all of them.
Fan- Well, fantastic. It's always fascinating when we get to do a deep dive with someone who specializes not only in the content, but also specializes in the science behind the content. So, Karla, what final words do you have for our audience? And how can people get a hold of you if they want to get some of this personal up close for themselves?
Yes. For again, thank you so much. I am so incredibly grateful for all of you and compliments to your preparation. This was such a professional, just at the moment I met you guys through email and all of you guys here. I'm just so impressed and grateful and just it was professional through and through. And thank you, Luis, for being here. I love you so much. And so if you want to contact me, myname.com, karlaelizondo.com. There is my Instagram, of course, Karla Elizondo. There's my link tree. I put everything I love in there. You can contact me. I have different packages. Of course, I do therapeutic coaching. I love to meld the therapeutic practices with coaching. And I really just love to transform people's lives. I love to create content and help you with that. And so those are all of my different offerings. There's the release to receive. That's the kind of the therapeutic coaching. Thank you so much for showing that. I made that myself. I was very proud. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. So this is kind of all the information that goes into how I work with you. It's very thorough, different therapeutic modalities mixed with, the modern neuroscience and neuroplasticity and all of those things. And I love human design. I know that's a big kind of little niche thing, but if you don't know about human design, it's a very cool process that I do for branding for coaches and leaders, therapists. There it is right there. It's really great. So that is where you can find me. And I would say leaving everybody with kind of what Luis just said. Don't wait until you hit rock bottom. You don't have to be sick to get better. You can just get better. You do not have to be sick to get better. You can just get better. Everybody's going through something. You're not the exception to the rule. You're not worse than anybody. You're not better than anybody. You're exactly spot on. Surround yourself with good people. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, fantastic. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. I'm going to guarantee you that this will not be the last time that we bug you about coming on this show to share with that same passion that you just shared with. My name is Galen Bingham. I'm the leadership strategist, and there have been so many things that I've enjoyed about this conversation. I'll tell you the thing that I am going to quote to my clients incessantly that Karla shared, and that is, stop playing with this stuff. Stop playing around. This is working with you. This can work with you. This can work for you, or it can work on you. But you get to decide, and we play around with this stuff so much. And this particular book was written at a time such as this. This was written in 1937 after Napoleon Hill spent over 25 years researching it. But in 1937, that was the time to release this philosophy to the world in a time that felt very similar to what we are in right now. So would really encourage that you not only get into the book, but that you join us each and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk through one of the elements of Think and Grow Rich. Until next time, take care.